Forager seemingly wants to be a clicker game, but is lacking in almost every aspect of it. Forager also seemingly wants to be a Zelda-like RPG, lacking in every aspect there as well. In a lot of ways, Forager is like me, seeing a great deal of promise and possibility in a lot of different aspects of the world and of life, wanting to sip from every cup, but not savoring one enough to leave a lasting impression. If you've never played Forager, here's the gist. You spawn on a small island with nothing but a pickaxe in hand and some natural resources spawned and spawning around you. As a seasoned veteran of watching at least one Minecraft Let's Play, you instantly know what your purpose is. Chop down trees. As you chop down trees, you realize you can't actually build anything useful with wood. So you mine at rocks and ores instead, using the stones to build a furnace, smelting ores with the coal you can mine as well, or can make from wood. This continues until you have some gear, leveled up once or twice, and smith some gold coins to purchase an island next door. This expands your area of operation, allows for more and more varied resources to spawn, more build area, and often NPCs, puzzles, or other activities present on the new island. This goes on and on, unlocking skills, improving your equipment, building new buildings, completing quests, buying land, solving puzzles, until you stop. Because Forager is a clicker game, or rather an incremental game. The goal of the game is to basically get bored enough to stop, or to see all there is to see, get all the achievements, like Cookie Clicker or Clicker Heroes. Of course, Forager tries to do some new things. Quests and puzzles are quite the innovation, and the way of moving around, making sure your buildings are pumping out items and gear, and the ever-expanding nature of your endeavor even reminds of Factorio in a way. So you might say it's a clicker game with more to do in it, so it's better, right?
Not right.
The thing with clicker games is they have a singular focus. Make clicking fun. When that inevitably wears off, make increasing those numbers fun on their own. And when that wears off, either end it with a bang like Space Plan or A Dark Room, or allow for a reset like Cookie Clicker or Clicker Heroes, starting from the beginning. Forager doesn't seem to do either of those. Full disclaimer, I haven't done everything there is to do in game. I still have the last few tiers of items to go, especially the nuclear tier items, but I've leveled all the way to the max level, seen all the islands, done all the dungeons, so I do think I've earned the right to talk about it after almost 20 hours of playtime. One thing regular clicker games definitely do better than Forager is the UI. Mainly because there usually isn't much of one. But the thing with Forager being more of a hybrid game means that the UI has a larger part to play. And when you can't even read what a skill does because the text is off screen, then that's pretty annoying. Other minor issues are not being able to build your pinned recipe just by clicking it, not being able to move while placing a building, so you just stand there like an idiot having to go back through 3 menus to move half an inch out of the way, quest text not being legible half the time because of the pinned recipe or other shit obstructing the view, and quest text being often quite cringy as well, like lol, haha, a fox guy and he wants poop? He wants poop. He wants a lot of poop, that's funny, haha, poopy, stinky. Or an engineer who is very full of himself, because he is an engineer. Of course, these are just minor issues, and the development team is a small one, so I can cut them some slack. But there's just a lot of room for improvement, especially on the UI side of things. Presentation-wise, the game is quite mediocre in my opinion. The visuals are simple but effective. Most of the stuff that is on screen is clear. Sound is interesting, as every building makes a different sound when it produces something, which is nice, though it gets fairly annoying when you've got a lot or fast production going on, and some of the sounds start sounding alike, so it gets harder to differentiate between them. The game is fun in the beginning though, especially starting up, exploring what the game has to offer without having to AFK with mining rods for 2 hours to not get bored is pretty fun. The dungeons really aren't though. They do each have a unique mechanic, be it reflecting lasers or powering switches, but it just feels clunky most of the time. Melting the ice crystals of the doors really shouldn't take this long, and pushing the electricity boxes is very inaccurate to say the least. The worst part about the dungeons, or just instances, since I'm 100% sure the museum is classified as this as well, is that your production doesn't continue while you're in them. You don't have access to your overworld items. Well, not that you really have access to them anyways, but still. If your inventory is full in a dungeon, you can't send anything to your vaults if you have the skill for it. And even though in the museum you can see which items you do have marked in white that you still need to complete a bundle, that doesn't mean they're in your inventory. So you'd better write down which items you still need and go hunting for them in your vaults to complete those bundles. Not that you can even write down which items they are, because it's just the icon. So if it's an item you've never seen before, tough shit. Inventory management in general is a hell. Usually in clicker games you don't have to worry about anything at all. Just click to make numbers grow and use those numbers to make your numbers grow faster by themselves. But here, since you have a whole production tree, you have an inventory and have to manage it as well. You smelt iron ore to get iron bars. You use those iron bars to make steel. You use the steel to make royal steel. You use royal steel to build buildings. You can upgrade your backpack and build vaults to expand on the inventory, but I wonder why there is even an inventory system at all in the first place. Items seemingly stack very high, if not infinitely, so you can spam food or healing items anyways, as well as potions to give you buffs constantly. Arrows don't even matter once you have the infinite arrow relic, and all the rest is just materials for crafting and items to place down. Even if you have enough vaults to store the entire murderload of items you collect through the game, it's annoying. When your inventory is full but your vaults aren't, items picked up are sent directly to them. Though it might be you need a skill for it first, I don't really recall. The thing is, even when your crafted items pick themselves up and follow this rule, they don't stack. As in, they don't sort out themselves. You can have a stack of iron ore in your vault and one in your inventory, and you'd never know. It's just a mess. You don't even have to have ingredients in your inventory to craft something with them. If they're in your vault, it's fine. So why not put them in an invisible pocket dimension like so many other games do? I assume the main reason is so you can sell your items from your inventory, which is nice, but it's just a hassle. Why not allow markets to be like a trading interface with sliders or something? Markets are pretty hilarious late game though. Every few minutes they have a new inventory of 3 or 6 items depending on a skill, which you can buy. The thing is, every new market you build has a different inventory. So if you build a lot of markets, each with the 6 slots, you can almost start focusing just on money and buy all your items you want or need from the markets. Selling is very profitable as well, especially once you upgrade your shovel a few times, so you get fuck tons of loot just from digging up the ground. Way more than you'd ever get just mining resources or even having a production line. Because at least the digging area is larger than one fucking tile. Holy shit, it's so irritating not being able to mine more than one resource at a time with your pickaxe. My singular biggest issue is the way the skills are unlocked though. You'll get experience from harvesting resources, and later through selling and even eating items. There are 4 quadrants, each one correlating to a different skill group. You get industry, finances, magic and agriculture. And it's not that hardly defined, but still, you have 4 areas. And you can choose these skills at will. At the beginning you only have the 4, but once you unlock them, the adjacent skills get unlocked as well. So as long as the skill's visible, you can unlock them, as long as you have, a skill point from leveling up. Which means that you can unlock factories. The skill unlocks factories, that's all it does, it doesn't say anything else. So so you can unlock factories, which need royal steel to be built. You can't see that it needs royal steel from the skill menu. So you unlock the skill, you go to your build menu and you see, oh, it needs royal steel. Royal steel can only be crafted when you have the skill to craft royal steel, which you don't need to unlock the factory skill. So you can unlock the factory skill without even having the use to build the resources that you need to build the factory. So you just wasted a skill point. And even if you unlock the royal steel after to build the factory, which in the beginning costs a lot of effort because it needs royal steel needs gems, which are very rare in the beginning. You can't even build anything with the factory because it needs advanced resources as well, like oil, for which you need another skill to build an oil rig. It's not very intuitive, let me say it like that. But progression in this way certainly is very open. You can take what skills you want, there's no restriction on it. And I assume a lot of people like it this way. So progression in the skills is very open, as is the choice which islands you buy to expand, because it functions like the skill tree, essentially. You can buy adjacent islands to the islands you already have. But there is a clearer through line, at least, to follow, because the harder islands, with the harder quests, the harder enemies, and the harder resources together, they cost a lot more than the ones that are easier. You have different biomes, and the hell biome to the south is the hardest, and they cost a lot of money. If one island costs, say, 2,000 gold, and one costs 100 gold, of course you're going to buy the one that costs 100 first. So you can pick useless skills, which is quite a dick slap, because skill points get insanely hard to acquire later down the road, because you need a ton of experience, which you simply don't get that easily anymore. There's obelisks to help, and there's items you can craft to help generate more experience. But in the end, the only useful way you have to surmount like the last 10-15 levels is to just craft sage scrolls or spirit orbs themselves, which gives you experience or a whole level respectively. I'd have liked a smoother system or even a skill tree instead of a skill grid, but I'm certain, again, a lot of people like it this way. Maybe it's just me because I made the wrong choice. The recent nuclear update allows for you to upgrade your structures to be faster, but only work with nuclear fuel cells, which you can only craft with items found in the Void Dungeon, which is honestly quite boring, because combat is just holding a left mouse button more often than not if you have the sword that freezes your enemies. I mean, you have dodge rolls as well, but the dodge chance you get passively from items is so high that you almost don't need to dodge roll anymore later down the line. So combat is just very simple. I mean, the fact that there is combat in a clicker game is nice, don't get me wrong, but the combat on its own in a different game would be very weak, to say the least, unless I'm just spoiled by, say, Dark Souls or something. So in the Void Dungeon you have to clear 5 levels, and after the 5th level you get a chest. In that chest you get toxic sludge, which you need to craft the nuclear fuel cells, and you need uranium as well, that you can mine just throughout the Void Dungeon, for which you have time enough, because in the Void Dungeon you have to kill a certain amount of enemies in a certain amount of time, but once they're all killed, you have free reign over the area, so you can mine everything you want, which is nice that there's no time limit to mining. But uranium on itself, if you don't have the toxic sludge, is pretty useless on its own. I mean, you can sell it, you can use it to craft nuclear tier items, but aside from that, you need other stuff to really make it useful. And toxic sludge, you don't get it aside from the chests every 5 levels in the Void Dungeon, unless you craft a nuclear tier pickaxe, which costs a lot of difficult items to obtain, void steel, cosmic steel, whatever, and nuclear machinery. So you have to clear enough Void Dungeons to get 10 nuclear machinery to get a pickaxe that might let you obtain toxic sludge just from mining items, which I assume the drop chance for is very low, because the cosmic pickaxe, which supposedly lets you gain star fragments every time you mine something, I haven't got a single star fragment in the a half an hour since I got it. Nothing, no star fragments at all. I mean, it took literally 15 hours before I saw my first natural starfall. I spawned 10 in with scrolls before I saw the first natural one, which is insane, truly insane. I mean, you need star fragments to craft certain things, like the void portal in the first place. So it seems imbalanced, I'll put it that way. So, back to the nuclear machines, the nuclear structures. So they need the nuclear fuel cells. And without nuclear fuel cells, which are hard to obtain on your own, unless you can buy them from, the merchant or the markets, they don't work without nuclear fuel cells. They don't. It's not like it's a bonus, You need nuclear fuel cells or they don't work. They do work faster when they have nuclear fuel cells, but otherwise they just don't, which seems a bit odd to me. Because you could easily just, it still works if it doesn't have nuclear fuel cells, but just at the regular rate of a normal factory, And, venturing into the Void Dungeons for 20 levels to get toxic sludge and whatnot, and all the other items you can find there, just doesn't really seem worth the hassle at all, because your production is just paused all the while you're in there. So you lose a lot of time, production time, you know, if you have a lot of production lined up, like electronics, for instance, which take a lot of time and you need a lot of them. So, I mean, it doesn't really seem worth the hassle, you know, being boring, kind of taking up more time than it even should, because the production is stopped and stuff like that. But in general, it's a cute game, I guess, quite frustrating a lot of the time, but a fun time sink with steady, albeit slow progression, depending on, you know, your choices. I do really appreciate the mindset behind it, trying to merge a lot of different game genres and ideas, but in my opinion, the execution is a bit lacking. The game costs 20 euros, which is a bit steep in my mind. I would not recommend the game at full price. I'm sorry this video has been more of a rant than anything else, I guess, but these are just my honest thoughts I had when I was playing the game. I do hope the team behind it continue their work and make better games in the future, or even update and change this one to be better as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.